Hey guys, are you tired of having to reel your hose all the way out to your flower gardens or your vegetable gardens and then reel it all the way back in every time you have to water? Well, let me tell you, I have got a better and faster and easier way to do that, so stay tuned. Hi everyone, welcome to Tyler's Country Garden. If you guys want more tips on growing and cooking your food, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. So let me show you what we got. We actually have raised beds and a vegetable gardens way out in the backyard, about 150 to 200 feet from my water source. So I've spent many a day and many an hour pulling my hose out there to water and then bringing it back in so that the lawnmower doesn't hit it and I don't leave it laying around in the yard. So I tried to come up with a better, efficient way to not have to do that. And I think I've got it, and it's worked great for us for the last 5 to 6 years. It's the best way we found to do it, and you're going to love it. So most professionals would tell you if you've got a long way to go for your hose from the source out to your garden, to basically they'll tell you to dig a trench and just to plumb it like you do your house. That involves PVC pipe and a lot of different attachments at the end, and I don't want to go through all that expense or the time, so I've got a quick way to do it for you. So if you look down at my water source, which is basically just my spigot coming out of my house, I have a splitter on here. I have 2 hoses on it. I have one hose connected up here that I use for my flower gardens up by the house, and then I have a second one that goes all the way out to my raised beds. And the way that I get my water from here to there is fairly simple. So what I've done, I take my mower and I cut a path from where my hose starts all the way out to my flower beds or my vegetable gardens. I cut it extremely short, about 2 inches. And what I do is on a nice warm day, I'll take my hose and I lay it all along that path out to my flower bed or my vegetable garden, whichever you're watering. When your hose lays there in that heat, it's going to relax itself and it's going to lay flat. So what you're going to do over a period of a few weeks throughout the summer, you're just going to let that lay there, and the grass is basically going to grow around it, and eventually it's going to bury itself. And I'm going to show you that here in just a second. So what you want to do, since that grass is really short there, all of the grass that's around it, you want to cut it higher, probably 3 to 4 inches at least. That way your blades don't hit the hose, and also when your grass grows high like that, it helps choke out the weeds, so you get a bonus there. So if your hose happens to get nicked by your blade, don't panic. Don't think you have to go buy another 150 feet of hose, because you don't. They sell a repair kit for $1 or $2 in the hardware store, and you can take care of that fairly easily. One thing I will advise you of is to leave a little slack in your hose, maybe up where it starts or at the other opposite end where it ends. That way if you do nick your hose, you have a little bit of leeway to pull your hose. That way you can put the repair kit on it and put it back together. So that's step 1, is to get your grass mowed, get your hose laid out. So what happens, if you look down here, this is where my hose started. And you can see that the grass and moss and everything has basically grown over the top of that, all the way out here. So my hose goes way out here. You can't even see it here because it's been buried for so many years. Comes all the way out here, past my deck. And I actually have it exposed here on my landing at the bottom of my deck steps. So this is the hose that came out of that spigot. And then we're going to follow all the way out to my raised beds. Again, you can't see it. My mower wouldn't even know where it is to hit it. So it's completely buried now. We're going to go out here and I'm going to show you where it actually comes up. So this is a long way to have to reel that hose back and forth, guys. I'm not as young as I used to be. So here's my hose. It comes up right here, right next to my raised bed. You can see it right there. It's buried under there, but there's a little bit of it showing right there. It runs all the way up here along my bed. And up here, I have what I call a hose tree, if you will, or a hose rack. So the hose comes out of the ground here underneath my tomato plants. You can see, let me get that out of the way. So it comes out of the ground here, comes up into this spigot right there on the back of that hose tree, and then I've got a second hose attached to this side of the spigot. So when I want to water, I turn on the hose up at the house where the source is, and then I can control it out here as well, turn it off and on. Works great. We don't even have to winterize. A lot of plumbers will tell you when your hoses are outside, even if you have it dug in a trench, you have to winterize it and drain your water out. We don't do that. The only thing I do in the wintertime is I unscrew it from the house. I don't drain the water. I have never had one of my hoses bust, crack, anything like that. Works just fine, and gets cold here in the winter. It can get to 20 below here easy, and never had an issue, so it works perfectly. The other thing I do is I have another gardens out there behind that fence. So what I do when I want water out there, I have a second hose reel out there. I'll show you that in just a minute. But it's a big hose reel out there, so I just take this hose off of my little hose tree right here. I pull it out there and I connect it to that second hose out there. So if you want to come this way, I'll show you. And I have a good tip for you guys here in just a minute, so stay tuned. I want to tell you a little trick that I've learned as well about watering. So out here in the field is my second hose reel. It's right over here. So all I do is I take my hose off of my hose tree up there, I bring it out here, and I connect it to my second hose here. This gives me plenty of hose to water all of these potatoes and tomatoes that I have out here. Works fine. When I'm done, only hose I have to wind up is this hose right here. I don't have to wind up everything all the way back to the house because that's a long haul, folks. I'm not up for it. I want to do this as efficiently and quickly as possible, and the idea of pulling that back and forth over and over and over, it's not much fun, so I don't want to do it. Nobody wants to do anything that's going to get you exhausted. So another trick I want to show you guys. If you look, I'm sure you've pulled hose out before and you've drug it and it's smashed some of your flowers down, or it's smashed your vegetables down, and because you're dragging it over there trying to get it, I mean you're pulling as hard as you can. It's happened to all of us. So here's a little trick. If you look at the corner of my beds here, these are just metal post landings that you would put a 4x4 in. I just had these extra around the house, so I just use this one, and I've got one over there. You can use any type of heavy metal pole, and basically what this is a guard to your vegetable garden. So if I pull my hose out here, I'll show you real quick. I learned this the hard way. So if I pull my hose out here and I want to go all the way to the other side, that guard there is going to keep the hose from smashing my potatoes down. I can go all the way around here. It's just like a guide. So it just guides all the way over to here. I can go as far up that way as I want. So these little posts save a lot of heartache, let me tell you. So that's a great thing. Another thing I want to talk to you about is watering. You know, when the water comes out of your hose, it's cold usually. If you get sprayed with the hose, you know how cold it is. So you need to be careful. A lot of the old timers will tell you when you water, you don't want to water in the middle of the day because it's so hot, you're going to burn your plants up. I've heard that always. You're going to burn your plants up. So we do not water in the middle of the day when it's so hot. We try to water early in the morning or late in the evening. But a little trick you need to know, when you water, try to water around your plants. You don't want to water straight on the leaves. So your root systems, when they grow out of your plants, they're actually going to reach or try to follow the water. So if you water alongside your vegetables, let's go up here and show you the beans real quick. I want to show you a good example. Give you a little tour of my backyard. So if I was to water these beans here, I don't want to take that ice cold water or any water and hit my leaves. I want to go along the side of this plant here, all along, or if these leaves weren't spread out yet, I could go just down the middle along that straw line. My whole point though is to keep the water off of the leaves. So if I go around the base of the plants, that's going to give those roots something to reach for, and that lets your root system get stronger, and effectively they'll grow longer, which means a better plant. So that's a little trick to remember when you're watering. You want to make your plants reach for the water. So I think it works great. We've been doing this, like I say, 5 or 6 years. Works great, saves a lot of extra time that you don't want to use. So if you guys want more good tips on gardening and cooking your food, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You guys take care. I'll see you later, and everybody can be nice. Have a good one.